So at this point, I would like to go over some important information that is included in the Notice of Funding Availability. And again, please read the NOFA carefully. So BridgeNY is intended to fund projects that would not otherwise be completed. New York State DOT shall reserve the right to defer consideration of projects with a construction phase already on the tip or stip. BridgeNY is intended to fund locally owned projects. There are cases where local municipality has an interest in a structure with joint ownership or ownership by others. These structures will be considered. Any structure that is not owned by the sponsor will be required to submit a draft application for the coordinated pre-review to be considered. So project scoring will be significantly impacted if the following items are excluded from the application. Project construction and total cost, including design and construction inspection. Clearly defined scope of work. If it's not a complete replacement, define the major components being replaced or repaired. Estimated month, year, and year of letting. An owner-defined responsible point of contact. And for culverts, adequate documentation of conditions through photos and inspection reports to provide evaluators with a clear understanding that appropriate scope is being proposed. About consultant selection. So federal and state regulations require a qualifications-based selection process for procuring engineering services. A consultant is only eligible to perform the phases of work named in the solicitation. So recommended language for hiring consultants would be BridgeNY project application development with the option for design and construction inspection if the application is successful. Right away, we talked about this a little bit during the application. If property rights need to be acquired for the proposed project, the sponsor must identify the property right to be acquired in the application. The sponsor is responsible for them and must certify that it will undertake the acquisition of these property rights. Please read the NOFA carefully with respect to right of way. So all projects advanced through this process must conform to the New York State DOT bridge design specifications and standards and have a service life appropriate for the level of work being performed. That would be 75 years for bridge replacements, 50 years for culvert replacements, 30 years for major bridge rehabs, and 10 years for culvert relinings. The top bullet in the slide is a screenshot from the NOFA that says how many applications are allowed to be submitted. Below this is the interpretation. So for this funding solicitation, BridgeNY 2018, which is 2 years of funding, means that sponsors can submit at most 4 bridge projects and 6 culvert projects. So with the deadlines that we've talked about today, sponsors are allowed to submit 4 bridge applications and 6 culvert applications. They can only receive at most 2 bridge awards or 6 culvert awards. And as stated previously, the applications for bridges and culverts must be submitted individually and will be scored individually. So 1 application per structure. The general federal requirements for bridges are as follows. This is a reimbursement program. The procedures for locally administered federal aid projects manual is required. Civil rights compliance includes American with Disabilities Act and Disadvantaged Business Enterprises, that's ADA and DBE. The environmental documentation required is the NEPA and seeker process, and the use of New York State DOT standard specifications are required. The general state requirements for the culverts are as follows. This is also a reimbursement program. The procedures for locally administrated federal aid projects manual is required for the state aid process. The civil rights compliance includes the American with Disabilities Act, ADA, as well as the Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Program, MWBE. The environmental documentation that is required is seeker. and the use of New York State DOT standard specifications are required. As I said, this is a reimbursement program, so the process is as followed. The sponsor receives authorization to proceed, work is performed, and then the sponsor pays the contractor or consultant for completed work. Sponsor submits payment documentation to New York State DOT, and then New York State DOT reimburses sponsor for eligible costs. Resources to be used for federal aid guidance are on New York State DOT's website, as you can see here. The regional local project liaisons for New York State DOT are also available resources. Resources for state aid guidance. Project sponsors may use a simplified project documentation as appropriate, including the IPP FDR format found in the New York State DOT Project Development Manual. And project sponsors must follow New York State DOT design standards and design specifications. Resources are the BridgeNY website, along with the local programs website. And resources also include regional local project liaisons. That completes our BridgeNY 2018 program training. Please see our website for frequently asked questions. These are updated weekly. And please check back to our website frequently for any updates on the program. Thank you and goodbye.